In this video, we're going to set up a RabbitMQ message broker. A message broker is like an email service for applications. The reason you might want to do something like to set up a software architecture that would leverage a microservices approach. The message broker would work in the same way. People email each other messages to go do work. You could use a message bus in the same way. So for example, you could have a microservice that receives tasks maybe from a user input. Another microservice would listen to that queue. This allows us to write really simple and very tiny, hence the word micro, functional pieces of code. So one team can work on a single microservice and produce that, and it would be very highly available. It also lends itself very well to scaling out. All right, so the prerequisites for this Hello World setup would be that you have Docker installed on a local machine and then some type of code editor. You will need Python virtual environment. That's optional. The very first thing we need to do is leverage Docker containerization. Containers provide to applications what virtualization provides to server infrastructure. Essentially, microservices could not exist without application containerization. In fact, I'd say that containerization of applications has led to the rise of microservices architecture. Application containerization in its original inception was to help minimize the pains that developers had to deal with, multiple dependencies and requirements. You could bundle everything up, including the OS, into a container, and then the developer could simply focus on write it within a container and then pass the container around to other team members. So it's really the way most development is done today. All right, so this tutorial setup uses a couple of tutorials, and I've just pieced them together, and I've really only adjusted a couple of things in the scripts, all the references below. So you can go to the original sources if you'd like, but this should get you up and running relatively quickly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is as I said, get our Docker container going, and we're going to use this YML script down here. The only thing I've changed in this is where I've sent the logs. I'm going to create a directory for logs, and then I'm going to map the container to that. I'm going to keep the same network. This was originally written for a Go project, but I'm going to use Python as my example. So like I said, it was pieced together from a couple of different sources, and then we'll use Bridge for our network setup. I'm using the RabbitMQ with the management plugin on Alpine. So let's first create a directory. We'll just call this RabbitMQ demo kcd2, and then we'll make another directory, logs. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our virtual environment. Okay, did it do it? It did it. All right, let's go ahead and source it out. All right, good. All right, now that that's all set up, let's get our text editor. Okay. Go ahead and just open up this new folder. All right. I'll grab all of this. Paste it right in. And there we have it. So that is the beauty of containerization. So basically, this is my container. So I already have the image on my machine here. It's not going to pull it down or anything, but it'll go a lot quicker. But if this is the first time you're doing it, it's going to have to pull this image down, and that could take some time depending on your connection speed. So let's go ahead and run this. We'll just follow along with these written instructions. We do Docker compose up. That looks much better. Okay, so now it looks like it's up and running, and that's all good and beautiful. So let's go ahead and open up a new tab here. Source V and V. Okay, sweet. And we should be able to, now that it's running on our machine, we should be able to navigate to the local host here. There we go. Yeah. Okay. All right, the next thing we need to do is install the library that we're going to need to run it, to make this script so we can talk to it. And we'll be using the Pika library, so you can just copy this right here. And there we go. And that looks beautiful. And now, I'm not going to type this out. I'm just going to, because I've already done it a couple of times. Okay. I just pasted it in. Okay, so here we have import our Pika library. This is a library that's used for Python to communicate with the RabbitMQ message bus. First thing we need to do, this is pretty standard stuff. We make a connection, and in this case it's going to be localhost. So that's where my container is running, and I've mapped my ports, so I just have to connect to localhost. We need a channel. So I may create a channel object, and then I connect to it with this channel function. And then I create the queue, so we can't talk to it without a queue. So if we look here, we can see that we don't have anything. Okay, you can see if we go here to queues, we got no queue. Okay, so in our code, we're going to create a queue. We'll just give the queue name hello. Communicate through Exchange. Now I'm just going to use the default. And you can read more about this in the other tutorial. It's linked in this tutorial, but we're just using the default here. And then I'm just going to send a simple message. And then when I'm done with the message, I'm going to click close. So let me save this. Another little trick here, a little tip, is if you set this up like a shell script almost, and I didn't know this until I made this tutorial, then you don't have to call it Python, you can just run it. So that's really nice. All we have to do, where's it at? There it is. So first we have to, so now it'll be, there we go. Now it'll be just like a bash script, send, hi, boom. Look at that, it looks good. Should see that. And now we should be able to navigate back to this and look at our queue. And we can see that our queue would have been created, and we would now have one message in here ready to go. So that is right here, and you can see it. There is hello, and there is one message ready to go. And there's really a lot in this management interface, which would probably fill up a whole nother tutorial, but it is very nice. The next thing we're going to do is create our receive. Okay, now all we have to do is just copy this. Copy. We will create the receive pipe. Alright, so this one takes a little bit more. So same library Pika, then system and OS. 5 and 6 are the same as SendPy. The same as, if there isn't a queue, then it creates one, or you connect to one, is from what I can tell from line 8 here. We'll define this callback method and just print out a simple message. And this thing is basically going to run indefinitely. So as you can see right here, until it's interrupted. So that would be like a control C. So just an if name equals messages. This is just an infinite loop here. A new tab, we'll do a new window. Let's see, RabbitMQ demo. There we go. And then we let, okay. There we go. Okay. Yep. Okay, cool. We received it. So now we can also look here at our message queue. And you can see that it is now gone. And if we want to run another one, hit SendPy again, and this should consume it right as it hears this, because the other one's still running. See, sent. See, it received it. That was pretty fast. And as you can see, this refreshes every 5 seconds. So we really didn't see it come through. We can look here though, I think. Yeah, you can see came through. I believe that's what, yeah, there we go. Pretty nice. So there you have it.